Some tragedies feel even heavier when they claim an entire family. In this video, we'll visit the resting places of 24 famous siblings who left the world together, bound not only by blood, but by fate itself. Robert and Preston Niland were two of four brothers from Tonawanda, New York, who served bravely in the U.S. military during the Second World War. Their family's story of service and loss would later inspire the acclaimed 1998 film Saving Private. Ryan Preston served as a lieutenant in the 22nd Infantry Regiment, while Robert was a paratrooper sergeant in the 82nd Airborne Division. Both were part of the massive Allied invasion of Normandy in June 1944, one of the most pivotal moments of the war. In one of history's most heartbreaking family stories, both brothers were killed in action within just 24 hours of each other. Robert was killed on June 6th, D-Day, while manning his machine gun post near Sainte-Mère-Église. The very next day, June 7th, Preston was killed while leading his platoon near Utah Beach. For a time, a third brother, Edward, was also believed to have been killed, prompting the Army to locate and send home the last surviving brother, Fritz, the real-life Private Ryan. Robert and Preston now rest side by side at the Normandy American Cemetery and Memorial in Colville-sur-Mer, France. Their simple white crosses overlook the very beaches where they fell, silent symbols of brotherhood, courage, and ultimate sacrifice. Lisa Cash, Christy, and Chelsea Collie, some tragedies strike so deeply that they shake an entire nation. Lisa Cash and her twin siblings, Christy and Chelsea Collie, came from Tallaght, Dublin, 3 young lives filled with promise and innocence. Lisa was just 18, and her little brother and sister were only 8 years old when horror struck on the night of September 4th, 2022. In one of Ireland's most shocking family tragedies, all 3 were murdered in their own home. Lisa, remembered by friends as protective and nurturing, reportedly tried to shield her younger siblings during the attack, a heartbreaking act of courage that cost her life. Their joint funeral became a moment of national mourning. 3 white coffins, carried side by side through the streets of a grieving community, symbolized a pain too deep for words. Today, the siblings rest together at Boherna Cemetery in Dublin. Their graves are often covered with flowers, toys, and candles, small tributes from those who never forgot. Together, they remain a haunting reminder of innocence lost and of a sister's final act of love. Bella and Celeste Watts, some of the most heartbreaking stories come from families that once seemed perfect. Bella and Celeste Watts were 2 bright, cheerful sisters whose lives appeared happy and full, their smiles often lighting up their mother Shannon's social media posts. 4-year-old Bella was known for her caring heart, while 3-year-old Celeste was the spirited, playful one, full of laughter and energy. But behind those happy pictures was a darkness no one could have imagined. On August 13, 2018, in Frederick, Colorado, their father, Chris Watts, murdered their pregnant mother, Shannon. He then took the lives of his 2 young daughters and disposed of their bodies at a remote oil site where he worked. At first, Chris appeared on local news, pleading for his family's safe return, a chilling act of deceit. But soon after, he confessed to the brutal crimes that shocked the nation. After their remains were recovered, Bella and Celeste were cremated, their ashes placed alongside their mothers at the Catholic New Camellia Cemetery and Mausoleum in Pinehurst, North Carolina, Shannon's home state. Their shared memorial bears a family photo, a heartbreaking image of the lives he was meant to protect. Together in rest, they remain a symbol of love, innocence, and the unimaginable betrayal that ended their short lives. Nancy and Kenyon Clutter, in the quiet farmlands of Holcomb, Kansas, lived the Clutter family, respected, hard-working, and beloved by everyone who knew them. Their lives seemed peaceful, until one night changed everything. 16-year-old Nancy was the bright, popular daughter, the kind every town adored. her younger brother. 15-year-old Kenyon was quiet and thoughtful, happiest when working with his hands. Together, they represented the promise and innocence of small-town America. But on the night of November 15, 1959, their world was destroyed. Two ex-convicts, Perry Smith and Richard Hickok, broke into the Clutter home, believing the family had a safe full of money. When they found nothing, they bound and gagged the four family members, Herbert and Bonnie, the parents, and their two children, Nancy and Kenyon. What followed was one of the most senseless acts of violence in American history. All four were murdered, Nancy found in her bed, Kenyon in the basement. The brutal killing sent shockwaves through the heartland and became the subject of Truman Capote's groundbreaking nonfiction novel, In Cold Blood. Today, Nancy and Kenyon rest alongside their parents at Valley View Cemetery in Garden City, Kansas. Their shared granite headstone, marked simply with the name Clutter, stands as a somber reminder of a family torn apart, and a story that changed American literature forever. Charlie and Braden Powell. Some stories reveal the darkest depths of human tragedy. Charlie and Braden. Powell were two young brothers caught in the center of a nightmare that began with the disappearance of their mother, Susan Cox Powell. In 2009, their father, Josh Powell, quickly became the prime suspect. Yet he was never charged. For 2 long years, the boys lived with their father under a cloud of suspicion, their lives shadowed by questions that had no answers. In 2011, authorities finally removed them from Josh's care, placing them with their maternal grandparents in hopes of giving them safety and peace. But that peace would not last. On February 5, 2012, during what was supposed to be a supervised visit at a house Josh had rented in Graham, Washington, tragedy struck. He locked the social worker out, attacked his sons with a hatchet, and set the house ablaze, killing himself and both of his children. Charlie was just 5 years old, and Braden only 7. The horrific murder-suicide not only ended 2 young lives but also extinguished the last hope of finding their missing mother. Charlie and Braden are buried together at Woodbine Cemetery in their mother's hometown of Puyallup, Washington. Their shared headstone bears etched portraits of the boys and their mother, along with a heartbreaking inscription, "Our sweet boys," together with their mother in heaven. Their resting place stands as both a memorial and a plea, a reminder of innocence lost and of justice never fully found. Hans and Sophie Scholl, the heart of Nazi Germany. At a time when fear silenced millions, 2 young siblings dared to speak the truth. Hans and Sophie Scholl, brother and sister, became the faces of moral courage in one of history's darkest chapters. Students at the University of Munich, they were leading members of the White Rose, a nonviolent resistance group that challenged Adolf Hitler's tyranny through words, not weapons. Guided by their Christian faith and belief in freedom, they wrote and distributed leaflets condemning the Nazi regime and urging Germans to resist the war. Their writings were eloquent, brave, and dangerous, each leaflet a spark of defiance in a land consumed by fear. On February 18, 1943, Hans and Sophie were caught throwing their 6th leaflet from a university balcony. They were immediately arrested by the Gestapo. After a brief show trial, the verdict was inevitable. Both were found guilty of treason. Just hours later, on February 22, 1943, they were executed by guillotine at Stadelheim Prison in Munich. Sophie was only 21. Hans was 24. The two are buried side by side at Perlicher Forst Cemetery, near the prison where they died, alongside their fellow resistance member, Christoph Probst. Their adjoining graves are simple and modest, yet they have become a place of pilgrimage, a shrine to conscience and courage. Even today, the names Hans and Sophie Scholl stand as eternal symbols of youthful bravery, proof that even in times of terror, truth can still find a voice. Anne and Margot Frank Few names evoke the tragedy of the Holocaust as deeply as those of Anne and Margot Frank, 2 sisters whose lives, and words became symbols of hope amid humanity's darkest hour. Born in Germany and later forced into hiding in Amsterdam, the Frank family spent more than 2 years concealed in a secret annex, evading Nazi persecution. Through Anne's diary, written with the optimism and honesty of a young girl, the world came to know their fears, dreams, and unbreakable bond. Margot, the elder sister, was quiet and disciplined, while Anne was lively, curious, and filled with imagination. Together, they endured confinement with remarkable grace, their sibling squabbles and shared laughter revealing both the ordinary and extraordinary sides of life in hiding. In August 1944, their secret refuge was betrayed. The family was arrested and deported to Auschwitz, before Anne and Margot were transferred to the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp in Germany. There, amid starvation and disease, the sisters clung to each other until the end. In February or March of 1945, just weeks before British forces liberated the camp, both died of typhus. Margot was 19, Anne only 15. Their bodies were buried in one of the camp's countless mass graves. Today, at the Bergen-Belsen Memorial, a single headstone for Anne and Margot Frank stands as a cenotaph, a symbolic resting place. It bears their names side by side, a testament to the bond that even death could not sever. Their story, one of faith, resilience, and the enduring power of a young girl's words, continues to inspire generations around the world. Johan and Cornelis de Witt in the 17th century, during the height of the Dutch Golden Age, two brothers, Johan and Cornelis de Witt, stood among the most powerful and respected figures in the Netherlands. Johan served as Grand Pensionary, the leading statesman of the Dutch Republic, while his elder brother Cornelis was a prominent military leader and mayor. Together, they were champions of Republican government, navigating the complex tides of European politics with intellect and resolve. But in 1672, a year forever known in Dutch history as the Rampjaar, or Year of Disaster, their fortunes turned. France and its allies invaded the Netherlands, plunging the nation into chaos and fear. As panic spread, the de Witt brothers were blamed for the country's misfortunes. Cornelis was falsely accused of treason and imprisoned at The Hague's Gevangenpoort prison. On August 20th, Johan went to visit him, unaware that a furious mob was gathering outside. In one of the most brutal acts of political violence in European history, the brothers were dragged from the prison, lynched, their bodies mutilated by the crowd. Their deaths shocked the world, a tragic end for two men who had devoted their lives to their country. Today, Johan and Cornelis de Witt rest together in a family tomb inside the Nieuwe Kerk, New Church, in Delft. Their resting place is simple, unadorned, offering no hint of the horrific fate they met. It stands in stark contrast to their once powerful lives, a quiet reminder of how quickly glory can turn to tragedy. The 6 Hart siblings behind. The smiling family photos and viral moments lay a story of unimaginable tragedy. The 6 Hart siblings, Marcus, Jeremiah, Abigail, Sierra, Devante, and Hannah, were adopted children whose lives were cut short in one of the most shocking murder-suicides in modern U.S. history. Their adoptive parents, Jennifer and Sarah Hart, presented their family as the picture of love and unity. A viral photo of young Devante hugging a police officer during a protest seemed to symbolize hope and compassion. But beneath the carefully crafted image was a hidden world of control, neglect, and abuse. On March 26, 2018, Jennifer Hart drove the family's SUV off a 100-foot cliff along the California coast. The crash killed Jennifer, Sarah, and at least 5 of the 6 children instantly. The body of Devante was never recovered, but he was later declared legally dead. Toxicology reports revealed that the children had been drugged before the crash. The case horrified the nation, exposing deep flaws in the child welfare system meant to protect them. There is no single gravesite for the siblings. Their memory lives on in the collective grief of those who followed their story. A tragic legacy of love, deception, and the desperate search for a better life that ended far too soon. Ella Ray Hadley and Ray Hadley Jr. in the late 1950s. Ella Ray Hadley and her younger brother, Ray Hadley Jr., were rising stars in American figure skating. The Seattle-born siblings dazzled audiences with their grace, artistry, and flawless synchronization on the ice. By 1961, their hard work had earned them silver medals at the U.S. National Championships and a coveted place on the U.S. team headed to the World Championships in Prague, but they would never arrive. February 15, 1961, Sabina Flight 548, carrying the entire U.S. figure skating team, crashed near Brussels, Belgium, killing all 72 people aboard. Ella Ray was 18. Ray Jr. was 17. The crash wiped out an entire generation of American skating talent, leaving a void that would take decades to fill. The Hadley siblings are buried together in a family plot at Washelli Cemetery in Seattle, their shared marker honoring the bright young athletes who soared so high and fell so suddenly. Laurence and Maribel Owen, just like the Hadleys. Laurence and Maribel Owen were symbols of American figure skating's golden future. Maribel, the elder sister, was a national pairs champion, while 16-year-old Laurence had just claimed the U.S. ladies' singles title, even appearing on the cover of Sports Illustrated as America's most exciting girl skater. Both sisters, along with their mother, legendary coach Maribel Vincent Owen, were aboard Sabina Flight 548 when it crashed. Maribel was 20, Laurence only 16. They are buried beside their mother at Mount Auburn Cemetery in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Their simple granite headstone marks not just a family's loss, but the end of an era in American figure skating. 3 generations of excellence gone in an instant. Chang and Eng Bunker in the early 19th century, the world had never seen anything like them. Chang and Eng Bunker, conjoined twins. Born in Siam, now Thailand, in 1811, became known across the globe as the original Siamese twins. Connected at the chest by a small band of cartilage and a shared liver, the 2 brothers were inseparable, both physically and emotionally. After being exhibited around the world as a medical curiosity, they eventually took control of their own lives, settling in North Carolina, becoming U.S. citizens, and even marrying 2 sisters, Adelaide and Sarah Yates. Together, the brothers fathered a combined 21 children and lived as farmers and family men, alternating weeks between their 2 homes. Their story challenged the world's understanding of difference, humanity, and resilience. On January 17, 1874, Chang suffered a stroke and died in his sleep. Eng, unable to survive without his twin, passed away just hours later. They are buried side by side in White Plains Baptist Church Cemetery in Mount Airy, North Carolina. Their gravestone bears a single name, Chang and Eng Bunker. 1 identity, 2 souls, forever bound in life and death. Daisy and Violet Hilton. Nearly a century after Chang and Eng, another pair of conjoined twins captivated the world. Daisy and Violet Hilton. Born in Brighton, England in 1908, joined at the lower spine, the sisters were intelligent, talented, and strikingly beautiful. Yet their lives were marked by both fame and exploitation. As children, they were exhibited in circuses and sideshows, earning fortunes that others controlled. But the Hilton twins eventually fought back, winning legal independence and launching their own vaudeville careers across America. They sang, danced, and even starred in films, including Freaks, 1932, and Chained for Life, 1951. Despite their celebrity, their later years were marked by poverty and isolation. In 1969, the sisters were found dead in their North Carolina home, victims of the Hong Kong flu. They were 60 years old. Daisy and Violet are buried together at Forest Lawn West Cemetery in Charlotte, North Carolina. Their shared gravestone simply reads, "Beloved Siamese twins." Even in death, the world remembers them not as a spectacle, but as 2 women who lived, dreamed, and loved as one. Steve and Cassie Gaines. The world of rock music is no stranger to tragedy, but few losses hit as hard as that of Steve and Cassie Gaines. Steve was the fiery guitarist for Lynyrd Skynyrd, the southern rock band behind hits like Freebird and Sweet Home Alabama. Cassie, his older sister, was one of the band's backing vocalists, part of the group known as the Honkettes. deaths. On October 20th, 1977, while the band was traveling to a show in Baton Rouge, their chartered plane ran out of fuel and crashed in a Mississippi swamp. Steve, Cassie, and lead singer Ronnie Van Zant were killed instantly, along with several others on board. Steve was just 28 years old. Cassie was 29. The siblings are buried together in Orange Park, Florida, at Jacksonville Memory Gardens, a place that has since become a pilgrimage site for fans. Their graves lie close to that of Ronnie Van Zant, forever tying their names to the legend of Southern rock.